In this podcast, I sit with Jim and Ann Dolan, San Miguel de Allende's top real estate brokerage and office. They've been here nearly 30 years. They first visited the area in the early 90s. Their story is phenomenal, and it's really interesting to learn what it's like living and also working, selling real estate in San Miguel de Allende. You're really going to like this. You're going to love the history. You're going to love the stories. Take a listen. For our audience, Cabo San Lucas, Los Cabos, Baja Sur, we're now in San Miguel de Allende, and I wanted you both on the podcast because of your experience here in San Miguel.
Well, thank you.
You're not originally from here, are you?
No, we are from Memphis, Tennessee. Our first visit was in 1991. We came for a weekend, and that's when you flew into Mexico City. So as of now, we have 2 international airports that are within an hour and 15 minutes of us. And it took us 2 years to come back. And then in 1995, I spent 3 months of the year here while Jim was being deployed in the military. And then in 1996, we made the decision to move here.
And so you were military. Right. You were raising kids?
I was a flight attendant.
Okay. Which airlines?
Delta.
All right.
Yeah.
And so you were flying, you were fighting battles, doing military stuff?
Well, I was deployed all over the Middle East, all over Eastern Europe at that time. And then, so she went ahead and moved here, and I was still overseas. She spent a whole year here without me, and I was doing that. Then I moved here actually in 1997. I continued my service until 2011, but from here, traveling all over the world. And our children didn't arrive until 2003 with the first.
What happened is we were presented with an opportunity that I could come here and become a partner in an existing property management company. And so we took that property management company, and it grew from 35 homes that we managed to, I want to say 75 homes, but we had the component of leasing. We leased up to 176 homes at that point in time, and then we added the sales element. So we became the only full service agency in San Miguel, and I became a partner in that.
Well, sounds like Ronival and Baja Sur were also the full service. Are you still doing the
No,
property?
we sold that company, and I sold that with my partner in the year 2000. And then shortly thereafter is when we started our family. And I was always helping Jim with his, when he moved here, his developments and everything in marketing. So I always had my foot in the door while I was raising our kids.
So tell me, how do you go from military and being a flight attendant into real estate sales?
You know, as part of it is, as you know, in real estate sales, you're the trusted advisor you serve, and that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're trying to help your clients. That's what I was doing in the military too. Besides the obvious, you're still there to help people resolve an issue. And that's what we did. Same thing with flight attendant. And that's what we enjoy about doing it now. Also in the military, you learn, obviously, confidence, honesty, initiative, work ethic, leadership. And so that's what we brought into San Miguel in our realm of influence. And we continue to do that today. And our company has grown with our partner, Nancy House, from the 2000s to what it is today as being one of the market leaders in San Miguel, specifically in the luxury home segment.
What does luxury homes mean in San Miguel? Price-wise, size-wise? Because luxury is this term that is misused, misunderstood, misinterpreted. By your definition, what does that mean?
If you say dollar amount, I would say personally $750 and above as of right now, $750,000 and above. But the homes under $750 are absolutely lovely too. The definition of luxury is different for everybody, as you're alluding to. And, what you want here, because we have the indoor-outdoor living year-round, not just in a season, but we do have it year-round. So that's an important element in any home here, is that you are able to open your door and walk outside. And I guess that's part of the reason, too, why when you are figuring square footage here, your outdoor spaces that are covered are included in that amount.
Same thing in Cabo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Also, we're talking about luxury, and with CDR Forbes, we're involved in all types of opportunities. We belong to some great organizations like Realm and others. And we have this conversation all the time. And what is luxury? And luxury is kind of a sense of being too. It's not just a price point. It's not just the square footage of your property, but it's a sense of being of how much, a lot of times it's luxury is time. Yeah. You have time to do things and you live in a great environment and the people you can be around. That gives you the opportunity for luxury. And San Miguel is different than other markets because it's a true community city that has been here for over 400 years. So that's another situation where it's unlike resorts, say at the beach, we've been here for a long, long time and will continue to be. And that's why when you walk around in the downtown, the Centro, the Jardín, you have this kind of feeling when you're having coffee overlooking the Jardín, the luxury of just being able to sit there and look at the paroquia.
And being taken back in time.
That's what I really enjoy being in San Miguel de Allende compared to on the beach in Cabo, which is fantastic.
Sure. Totally.
Is the history and culture.
Right. And that really started to shift. So when Jim and I came here, when Jim and I married, we knew we wanted to live in another country, own our own business, and learn another language. And we just didn't know we'd end up in San Miguel de Allende. And that was just a gift that was given to us. But when you look at, when you are thinking about back in time, we're known as the doors of San Miguel here because you have no idea what's behind a door. And it can be a palatial, 10,000 square foot home, or it can be a modest home right beside each other on a main street. And it's the mystery and the not knowing. And then you have all these homes that have been in families for decades, just decades. And I walked into one the other day that we just took on as a listing. And I was absolutely blown away because it had the chairs from the early 1900s. Or before, and you're sitting there and you're going, I can just see them sitting here back then, overlooking the Jardín. How in the world? And so even for me, after being here 27 years, I get excited.
And we have people from all over the world that live here. And that particular listing she's speaking of has not been traded in over 125 years. And so it's been the same family.
It was amazing. Same chairs.
And we have people from all over the world, over 60 different nationalities live here.
60.
Over 60 that really live here, not just come here for 2 weeks. Any part of Asia, every part of Europe, South America, probably almost every state of the United States and the country of Mexico, the people come to San Miguel to live. And so it's interesting, specifically in the last, say 20 years, because of the airlift, and then the last 10 years, because of the connectivity via cell phone, via internet, via Zoom or whatever, remote work. More and more younger families are coming here.
The nomads.
Yeah.
I mean, you come here in your 30s and raise your kids. And one of the best things we did was to have our children born here and raised here.
Bicultural.
Like your kids.
Yeah.
Same thing. And so then they've done extremely well, not only in the scholastic athletic endeavors here, family orientation, and then on to their high school and college.
Yeah. For an example, one of the beauties of raising your kids here is the fact that every day we would pick them up from school and we had a family lunch. And then we'd be running out the door. But our kids to this day talk about what an impact that made that we were able to have lunch every day and have conversation and look at each other. And it's great. I mean, and I can tell you that as you know, in Cabo, I think one of the homes I just recently sold, they really want it to be their family compound because they want their generations to be underneath the same roof.
Kids,
grandkids, and they want to have the amenities that come along with being here, that they aren't having to run around and do the wash and all the different things that make it a lifestyle choice.
So this is going to be an interesting question. So in Cabo, communities typically in terms of amenities, swimming pool, pickleball court, tennis court, clubhouse, game room, social gathering area, restaurant. I'm sure you guys have all of that, but you have other amenities that we don't have in Cabo. What are some of those?
Restaurants, Jim and I were talking on the way here. It is amazing the opportunities for people to come here and experience. So I was with clients yesterday and we were talking about, he's a big bike rider. Well, we've got Bike Pass, right? But now he has taken up pickleball and she's doing yoga and they're meeting. They went to a political event. They are interested in photography. And so I was explaining to him, you know what's going to happen? Your world is going to slowly, San Miguel is so open and so inviting. You meet somebody at a dinner party.
You start going like this.
You're
you start ping-ponging.
Ping-ponging,
Yeah.
and then you have all these groups. And I'm learning every day about things here that I did not know existed.
One thing about San Miguel that's different than other places is to extrapolate on what she's saying, is that whatever your activity is that you partake in, it's probably here.
Yeah.
It's probably here, except for maybe kite surfing. We don't really do that. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not really here. But as far as anything, if someone is in that semi-retired state that wants to be involved in the community, one of the biggest things that people do in San Miguel, besides all the athletic opportunities, because we can do something outside every day of the year, we don't really have a season where it's unbearable that you can't go out.
Right.
But so, and we've been living here since 1996. And we've never had air conditioning or heat in our homes, ever. And so with that being said, but the other thing that people really love doing here is getting involved in the community, and whether it's charities. And we can all write checks to charities. But what people like doing besides writing checks is actually putting their hands on it, maybe drive the van for Feed the Hungry, or maybe work with, building homes for people that deserve homes.
With Casita Linda.
Casita Linda is one of the people that we sponsor. And so one of the charities.
One of the many.
And so
yes,
that is what people like to do almost just as much as play golf or ride horses or do everything else, is to give back as they retire.
And what's beautiful, so our expat community here is probably 18 to 20,000, more or less, throughout the year. We have over 130 charities, and the majority were created by the foreign community, which is a way that we are able as foreigners to give back to the beautiful place that we're able to live in.
Of the numerous transactions and clients you serve every single year, what percentage of them are foreigners compared to Mexican nationals?
67 for our office.
Company, yeah.
It's 67% are foreigners, the majority being from the United States. But we have clients, like I said, from Canada, from Europe. We have clients come in from Indonesia. Yeah. We have clients from Korea, China. Anywhere in the globe, basically, have been our clients here in San Miguel. And what you find is not they just buy a house and use it 2 weeks a year. Maybe they think they're going to do that to start with. I've had people buy homes here sight unseen, come the first time months later, and then fall in love with it and end up moving here, versus what their original thought was, I'm going to buy this as a vacation home. And so, and then we
Well, you just sold the one that they'd never even been to Mexico.
Right.
You know?
Never been to Mexico?
They'd never been to Mexico.
Well, I will take that back. They had been to Cabo San Lucas, which is really not.
That's not Mexico.
Is that Mexico? Obviously,
I'm kidding.
No, it's Mexico Light.
Yeah.
It is.
Mexico.
They purchased a home from me, and they have now fallen in love with it. We went to a bullfight last weekend. They're from New York City, and they just couldn't be a nicer couple. And they just, oh my gosh, this is the best thing we've ever done. And they had even been to San Miguel.
Are they relocating?
No.
Well,
Just a second home.
Well, currently it's a second home, but now they're spending a lot more time than they anticipated as a second home. And they've told me the other day that they feel like they're going to start spending more and more time, and they've changed their life plan to incorporate San Miguel more in their life.
And it goes to the culture that's here. You know, we started to dive on how it changed over time. Well, when the 5-star hotels started coming in, and that's just only been 12 years ago, San Miguel is now on the radar of so many because of the restaurants. We've got the vineyards. The vineyards just started, what, Jim, 10, 12 years ago?
Between 2007 to 2011 is when they first started. And I've said to you before, and
Forbes, you actually did an article with Forbes.
We did
recently.
Forbes
Yes.
published an article that we spoke about
the opportunities.
The opportunity, because San Miguel downtown is where most people come and buy for the first time, because it's an easy walk out your door and you go. But over time, a lot of people will transition and buy something in the country as well, or trade. And so the vineyards, I think, is a great opportunity for just not in real estate, but for San Miguel in general, because you have the downtown is finite. They can only build so much downtown because of restrictions, which is a good thing because it's historical.
Part of UNESCO.
And
UNESCO,
then
right.
over the past, since 2010, the vineyard culture has really grown. And, we've talked about numerous vineyards, more than 10, and more on the horizon that give the opportunity for people that want to be in San Miguel, but maybe not live in downtown San Miguel. The opportunity to feel like they're in the country, which they are, but you have these beautiful vineyards that you can walk around in, you can ride your horse in.
And the wine, not to mention the wine's good,
Sure, the
restaurants.
So it's all changing.
It becomes, what it's becoming for those that do live in town, it's your weekend destination. It's your weekend place to go have a comida and enjoy and walk around, to Jim's point. And you can have your kids running around, and that's really nice.
And what's funny is that you say in the country, but we're talking, most of these vineyards are just 15 minutes from the center.
Yeah,
oh, for sure.
Exactly.
But,
That's the country, though.
from our perspective, when we first started coming here, the lights stopped within maybe a mile from Centro. There was no other electricity out there.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you got, a mile from Centro, you were way out in the country.
The same thing was in Cabo. I had my very first assistant, Barb, who's in her 90s now. She was telling me in the late 70s, she was the first American to live in Cabo
Oh, really?
from
wow.
Minnesota.
In
And
the
she-
late 70s.
In the late 70s. And she was telling me that there was one phone in town. There were obviously no traffic lights. There were no paved roads. And what was the outskirts, like what you were talking about, was, and for our camera guys, Marina Sol.
So how far is that?
Marina Sol is 1 block from the marina.
Oh.
So back then there was no marina. And so everyone congregated every night for potluck dinner. And if people didn't show up, they would go walk to your house and see what happened. That's the kind of...
And San Miguel was like that, except earlier on.
World War.
Because some of the first, obviously you've had foreign influence here for 400 years because the Spaniards came and founded San Miguel as we know it, as San Miguel de Allende at that point. And then, but the American community started really right around World War I. And we knew the man named Sterling Dickinson. And he did a great amount of work for San Miguel. He had the opportunity financially to do things. And,
Wait, you say you knew him, like
Yeah.
you met him?
oh, yeah, for sure. But he
But
didn't
World
pass,
War One?
But he didn't pass away. We knew him in the mid-90s. And he died about 1998. And he was late 90s.
Holy.
But we knew Sterling Dickinson. And he was here. And that was kind of the lead American guy.
Everybody knows his name. The people have been here for a while, at least.
And
yeah.
so,
That's insane.
it's like,
He created an orchid garden.
it had a long following. And then after World War II, with the advent of the GI Bill, then you had a lot of American soldiers after World War II, want to kind of drop out and do something fun. And artist colony was forming at that time. And the GI Bill would afforded these guys to come down and live in San Miguel. It's like, oh my gosh, this is great. And this is in the 40s, 50s. And then the 60s, and it just kept going. So the American community has been here for a long, long time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Longer than in Cabo.
No, Cabo, I mean, there were movie stars flying down for the weekend in the 50s, but there wasn't a true expat community, I would say, until like the 70s. And now it's super big. I don't know the exact number, but when I first moved there almost 19 years ago, it was about 10,000. I would venture to say 50,000 or more. So it's just like exploding like it is here.
One thing about Cabo is a little different in this market, like we discussed. San Miguel's been a working community, city, town for hundreds of years. And really in the last, say, 20 years with the advent of travel, because we flew in the first year when the Leon airport opened. Before Querétaro, they had a regional airport, not an international airport. When Leon became international, that was really due to the GM factory close to the airport.
Oh,
that was one of the
industry.
It's right
It
there.
was one of the prerequisites for GM to put a factory in Silao was to have an airstrip that they could utilize. And so it's on the rail line on the airstrip, about an hour and 15 minutes west of here. And so that created an airport. Before that, the only choice was Mexico City and try to get up there on a bus. And that took all day.
It took all day when we started coming.
So that,
Wow.
no less, is 1994 when that airport was inaugurated.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of really what changed this whole area. And then Querétaro became an international airport in, say, 2000 timeframe. And so it's continued.
And all the industry there.
And then you have a lot of industries, which really the drivers in both states. San Miguel is just the jewel in the Bajío.
What in the almost 30 years have you seen real estate trend wise happen?
Oh, I don't know. You want to take that
one? Of course,
one?
I think before 1990 is more historical type of living. And I think specifically in the last 20 years, you've had this advent of people changing their taste. Before, it was just a colonial house and people didn't do much to change it. But now you see a lot more contemporary, whether it's, the vineyards there's one vineyard, house that's very contemporary, another that's very colonial, the same area. But downtown's all colonial. But we've seen some just tremendous contemporary homes being built. So that's a lot different.
So what, to his point, when we moved here, it was all about the experience, and still to this day, you still have the donkeys in the street, and and you wake up and you hear roosters in the background. Even in Centro, you can hear that still. But again, when the high-end hotels started coming in,
For example, what high-end hotels?
Like Rosewood, Matilda. Matilda is
Hotel
Matilda is a good friend of ours hotel, and then Rosewood came in, and then there was two other boutique hotels too at that point in time. One was called Dos Casas and Le Hotel, and that was it. And they were the group that started like San Miguel art, and we were having our first art, where people were actually coming in, and we were having really high-end hors d'oeuvres compared to what we had been used to.
Cheese and crackers?
Yeah, exactly.
Something better than that?
Something better than that.
So with that
and the chefs and all that.
Happened in mid-2000s, all of a sudden it kept building on itself, and now San Miguel has unbelievable. One of our friends in the restaurant business had told me that there were over 700 members, restaurants, bars, and eateries in the association. So
that's amazing for our little town.
Everything we have everything from tacos to 5-star dining, and just as in the last 2 years, we have a supermarket called City Market, and I've been all over the United States. It's
the best,
nicer than any supermarket
Whole
ever
Foods
been.
Or whatever.
I go every Saturday for my pleasure to walk up and down and see what else they've brought.
We went 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
See, there you go. And there are restaurants inside there, so you can sit.
But you have that, but yet you still have Old World. You can still go to the market and somebody's behind a whole counter of tomatoes, and you're picking the tomatoes in a farmer's market. And so we have both sides of that.
The diversity is
nice.
Nice.
And that's what's fun when I'm taking clients out, because each one of the neighborhoods is specific. It's not like a suburb, or it's not like a development. It has its. You can still have the carniceria, the flowers, and you just walk out your door and go buy it all. Or you can be in a more gentrified area where all the houses are already ready to go, and, you have to walk a little farther. But a lot of people like the mixed element because they want to feel like they're in Mexico. They don't want to feel like they're in a high-end rate. They want to have the experience. And those clients are really fun to take out. Because they want what we all came here for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's great that they can still get that. They'll always get that in El Centro. I like the trend of pushing out of the Centro and new products, new offerings, new opportunities for locals and for foreigners to.
That's what I was saying. The vineyards are providing that opportunity. Now, we do have 2 18-hole golf courses here in San Miguel for the golfer. We have a 9-hole golf course as well, an executive style course. We have every equestrian pursuit that you can be involved in.
Polo.
We have 3 polo fields. We have one of the top 3 show jumping arenas in the country.
That's an ode to me.
We have people from all over the world coming to watch that. We have reining. We have every type of discipline in horses, because you can ride every day. You can't do that in Texas. You can't do that in a lot of places, but here you can.
I actually just had a client say that to me. He was like, you all get to ride all the time. He has a home in Colorado, and he's looking at buying here. Actually, we're working on an offer now. And he just thought that was wonderful, that the climate, it just substantiates the client claim. It is real. You really get to be outdoors year round. Even in winter, guys, it's 4 seasons in one day. That's what I like to say, because you wake up, you do have a chimney that you can flip on, take the chill out of the air, but by midday, if you're playing golf, you're in
Sweaty.
a short sleeve shirt like you are.
Yeah.
You're not sweating. You're just in a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
And you are living it. I mean, you came from the States, now permanent residents. You probably have your Mexican passport. Or
I do.
You do.
Sure.
Your kids obviously do.
Yeah.
And you own property not only in town, but outside of town, like in a vineyard or a ranch. For
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we see a lot of. People want to, once you're here for a while, then you want to have someplace outside town just for that different ambience, because downtown is busy, lots of great things, lots of sights and sounds and aromas. When we get out in the country, it's kind of much more peaceful. But unlike a lot of tourist destinations, it's very safe and it's clean and the people are nice. And so that's a big attractor for people coming here, specifically their first time. They show up and say, oh my gosh, I never realized this was Mexico.
I think in all of my years with all the clients that I have found homes for, I have only had one that started in the country.
Wow.
Because you kind of feel like you need that in-town experience, but I think that's changing too. So
I see it. I mean, being in downtown, the traffic is crazy.
yeah.
Walking around, and everything's so tight, which is the charm of El Centro, but it's nice to get away from it. Also.
Exactly.
That part of downtown was designed over 350 years ago, no cars. So it has some horses, and that was it, some donkeys, burros. So obviously you're trying to put today's infrastructure into what you can't change. So, but it's really evolving. That's what I said. I think it's evolving for the better because of the fact we do have these developments outside of town that provide a level of luxury living, but yet with
all the amenities.
Proximity to town, whether it's you have your driver take you or you have a shuttle service, and it's not that far to go, because most of our clients are coming from places that when we talk about a drive of 10 or 15 minutes, they say, are you kidding me? They're coming from Chicago or
2
LA.
hours. 2 hours.
LA.
Yeah.
You're stuck in the LA freeway for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or New York City with all the congestion. 15, 20 minutes is like free. So that's the opportunity you have when you come here.
To give you an idea, when we first came here in 1991, you were able to drive your car around the Parroquia Jardín.
Really?
Yeah. And we had only like four taxis back then. And where you would, the parking garage, one of the parking garages I remember going into was just right off of the Jardín, and it had all these stones and just all the antiquity that was there. Yeah. There were about 8 restaurants. You'd go into any restaurant and you knew everybody. And I mean, it's been a lot of fun to see it change. I'm very proud of all the different administrations that have kept the in-town intact. I think that's a very important element, that you always take care of why people came here.
Yeah.
They've done a really good job of keeping the in-town. And now we have all the different streets that are closed off pedestrian-wise that we did not have before.
I've heard rumors of not allowing any cars in El Centro. Is that true, or is that something you always hear?
I think you always hear it. I think it's an evolving situation. When we first lived here, probably up until, I can't remember, 2000, you could still drive around the Jardín. It became more and more congested. I mean, when we first started coming in, there were no motorcycles or four-wheelers, anything, nothing. And this is only 32 years ago.
Well, we got one of the first cell phone numbers too.
Yeah. And so then when you're doing that, and then finally they blocked off just the Jardín, I wouldn't doubt at some point in the future, they take it another block out or so. But, one thing you have to deal with from urban planning standpoint is cars are a necessary evil. You got to have vehicles to move from point A to point B, buses to move people from point A to point B, and you got to have that in proximity to where you're going. So that's one of the things that the city planners have to deal with, and they're doing a good job.
Well, I'm excited to actually, why from over 2 years ago when we first met on a Zoom call,
Right.
us to unify and start doing more business together because our clients, some of them are getting priced out of our market.
Sure.
But they want that Mexican experience. They want to live abroad. They want the comfort of an expat community, and they want familiar faces, familiar stories like what you offer in a lot of your clients.
And this is what's so interesting about our expat community. Like I said, it's over 60 nationalities, is that, and it's from every socioeconomic level in the spectrum. You, as an example, you have starving artists to, world high net worth people, coming here on a bus or flying your plane. Private jet. And we have that happening every week, every level. And once you get here, then there's no differentiator, because you'll be walking around the Jardín, the same guy or gal that flew their jet in is talking to somebody that came in that just retired from a civil service job or whatever. And
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you have something in common because you're here. That's your commonality is here.
And people are open to learning. And I think that's important. So I'll have to share a blog that I did for our website called The 7 C's of San Miguel.
7 C's.
7 C's. And I'm not going to remember all of them off the top of my
C's
head.
like S-E-E.
Like C,
C.
like the letter.
Oh, the letter C. Okay.
Uh-huh. So cost of living, community, climate, all of it. The 7 that we have. Culture. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Help me more. There's more. There's 3 more.
Community.
Community. Yeah. It's so encapsulates. Help me. Thank you. Exactly what San Miguel is.
Okay.
It really, cost of living, just all the different variables.
And I will tell you, some people have always asked me about the medical or the dental. I said, are you kidding me? Even since we first came, it's been phenomenal and at a much better price, so much so that from the insurance side of things, we have insurance, obviously, but we don't use it to pay medical bills on a normal week-to-week basis or whatever.
Like a dentist or...
It's emergency stuff.
It's only emergency because...
Major medical.
It's
everything
major
else
medical.
is so reasonable and the care is unbelievable as far as you still have great bedside manner.
That's the key.
Well, they know your name.
Yeah.
You can call your dentist, your doctor, your surgeon at any time and you can go see it. It's that part of it that's still... U.S. mentality of 1965.
Yeah, it's not tainted down here.
No.
And that's what I experienced even in Cabo, is that you're not a number.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a name. You're not a number.
Yeah.
You're
All right,
welcome.
well,
This is great. Look forward to
Our people, our agents, our clients are going to love you and your team.
Yeah.
You have 2 of your agents here.
Yeah.
And I look forward to continuing this wonderful relationship.
Us too as well.
Us too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Until the next one. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronival Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronival. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronival.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.